All right, I think we can get started. So thank you for everyone for attending the CloudBento Small Business webinar. We are truly excited with the response we've received and are so glad that you are willing to spend a little bit of time with us as we share our latest offering, the CloudBento Small Business Solution. And before going a little too far, we should probably answer the first question: who should be attending this webinar? Well, we hope that we have a lot of representatives from law firms, financial companies, and professional services companies that are looking to put their applications in the cloud. And the applications that we're putting in the cloud are those that you're used to running on-premise, or you possibly are working with an existing host and you're simply not happy with the service offering that you're getting. We expect that our clients want capabilities such as reduced dependence on the on-premise hardware. We incorporate our IT management, IT security practices into our cloud offerings and ensure that the hardware that you do have is essential. It's going to perform as you would expect, and it's going to be implemented in a way that's going to benefit you. And in addition, we then put a cloud layer on top that allows you to access the applications that you do need from anywhere, even if they're not true cloud applications. Our typical customers also value security, and that is probably the fundamental. We define security as the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data, which means that it has to be available, it has to be trusted, and it has to be safe. And lastly, as I said earlier, the typical clients that we get are those that are using on-premise applications that are now going to be in some way moved into the cloud environment, or they're simply dissatisfied with the current host offering. Now, you'll probably hear us say this a lot, but we are an accredited and certified Amazon partner. We work with many Amazon solutions, but the CloudBento Small Business Solution is something specific. It is an ability for you to load an application that otherwise would be on-premise into a cloud environment and then stream it using the PC over IP protocol right to your device, whether it be your desktop in the office, your tablet, or your laptop. And you can do this from anywhere. So the Small Business Solution is designed to basically bring any application that you want that runs on Windows to a device wherever you might be. Now we'll go into the heart of our solution shortly, but you might ask yourself, why CloudBento? Well, I've already said that we are an Amazon partner, and that makes us skilled at presenting Amazon solutions and building them and architecting them within AWS. But that also means that all of CloudBento solutions are within Amazon Web Services, and that makes them better all by itself. Amazon Web Services provides the most amazing data centers with the greatest capabilities across the world. And unless you're running something like Rackspace or Microsoft Azure, there's really truly no comparison to that of what AWS can achieve. We're also certified information security managers. ISACA has given us that certification that shows that we understand security practices and we're capable of dealing with secure data. We are a Microsoft Cloud partner, which is a big deal for those who are interested in communication collaboration technologies, specifically Office 365. And for those who rather not do Microsoft, we are also a Google Cloud partner, and we provide Google G Suite services as well. And ultimately, we're also a Parallels partner. We're actually one of the first that ever came to existence. And Parallels Remote Access Server is one of the key technologies that we use to deliver the applications to your desktops or to your laptops or to your tablets. We've also been around for a while. Our chronology really begins at 2011, although our company started before that. Amazon Web Services came to existence in 2006, just about 11 years ago from the time of this webinar. And they've made giant strides in starting a simple data center, or maybe not so simple, that was providing needs for their services and immediate clients, to basically world-class architecture that is used by companies like NASA, Netflix, and so many others that you deal with on an everyday basis. We began direct work with Amazon Web Services and Amazon Cloud in 2011, when we were first tasked in migrating on-premise networks into Amazon Cloud for a global company. And then we began implementing CloudBento VPC for our first clients in 2012. Those were law firms that were looking to put their case management software applications into the cloud and chose not to use regular hosting. Since 2012 through now, we've been doing CloudBento VPC for many law firms and for many other businesses, where we would create sequestered and private environments within Amazon Cloud that delivered all the capabilities that these companies needed in lieu of their on-premise networks. But in 2017, we decided to branch out and include small business. The small business offering is a little different from VPC because unlike VPC, or what we call now enterprise, VPC enabled us to give you ultimate control and ultimate authority over a cloud. We created an environment specific to your office or to your company that was completely and truly isolated. The problem with that is that it is overly complex at times, and it's also quite costly. So we decided to launch a small business edition where we take ownership of certain aspects, such as the Active Directory components, which authenticate you, and break down the servers into smaller pieces. We manage majority of it for you, and in turn offer you a service at a lower cost that is much simpler to you, the end user, but equally or possibly at times even more reliable than the enterprise products we've been able to create. The most important point that I haven't made yet is that CloudBento Small Business is fixed price. It's a fixed charge per user per month. Unlike everything within Amazon Web Services that is built on a pay-as-you-go or on-demand model where you're paying for all the resources that you use, CloudBento Small Business is a simple monthly fee, and it includes everything you need. We're not the only company that's doing cloud hosting and cloud services. We're possibly the only one that's specializing in professional services and law firms using Amazon Web Services. But our role in the market is really to disrupt and to deliver. And what we mean by that is when we're disrupting traditional hosting companies, we are basically challenging them on their security. Most hosting companies do not offer end-to-end encryption or end-to-end security on their services. We're challenging their technology. Most hosting companies use inexpensive, commercially available hardware that they store inside a data center that they use, and they hope that it runs properly. But when it breaks, the customer is the one that suffers the outage. And margins. We know margins matter, and we are committed to reasonable margins of 30% on all of our services. Now, we disclose this freely because we think it's important. Therefore, you know that 70% of the cost that you're putting in is going straight into the Amazon capabilities that you're receiving on the opposite side. We will invest in everything we can to make sure that your data is always confidential, always high integrity, and always available. And that's how we deliver the value. We are offering end-to-end encryption. We're offering isolation of our customer tenants. We are providing you with the best architecture for the customer need. And we are offering a margin that is transparent and that is disclosed. This next bit is probably my favorite part of this whole webinar. This is where I get to geek out a little bit and tell you about how we've designed and how we architected our technologies. Now, we're using Amazon Web Services Elastic Compute Cloud to run the instances that run your applications. Now, Elastic Compute Cloud is quite special all on its own. Each instance is not an isolated server. Most hosting companies will give you a physical box or a virtual machine that is residing pretty much on one server, one physical piece of hardware. But that's not how Amazon works. In fact, each instance is sitting on a stack that is comprised of multiple servers, and those stacks are replicated, which means that majority hardware failure is still not enough to bring down the instances that you're using. We also make sure that our solutions are available and durable. And what that means for us is that we're not just limited to a single data center. In fact, we leverage Amazon's availability zones to ensure that we spread out your workloads across multiple data centers that are relatively close together for latency purposes. So they're all in the same geographic region, in our case, US East Coast. But they are spread apart, usually 30 to 40 miles, and your data at any given point in time and all of your processing capabilities are being replicated across 2 or 3 of those data centers, guaranteed. In cases where we have to comply with additional standards, we can actually replicate the data across regions. For example, moving your data also to California and ensuring that your data is stored at 2 different locations that are physically apart by more than 300 miles. Now, we do this all with fast infrastructure. All of the instances run solid-state hard drives, high-end CPUs, and often can even be powered by GPUs if we choose to. And it is secure. We provide end-to-end encryption. The application layer itself that you're interacting with is PC over IP. There is no data being sent, but even the information that is being sent is encrypted. Your data that sits on our systems is encrypted at rest, and also everything is encrypted during transmission. In fact, the connections between the database instances and the servers and the firewalls and everything else, all the little hops that you could experience, all of that is encrypted as well. And lastly, it's inexpensive. Like I said, we are committed to margins, and we made sure that we put in as much money back into the infrastructure and the architecture, and then the stuff that we get paid for doing all of this work is reasonable. And that is how we came up with the CloudBento small business model, which is, on top of things, is fixed price. Now, the problem with all of these claims that I made is that our competition can make the same claims, in some respect. They can also say things are encrypted, and they can say they're available and even spread out across multiple data centers. But I want to emphasize the fact that we are doing this live, that your data is constantly synchronized across multiple data centers while it's hot. And it shows even more when we start talking about the databases and the file systems that we use. For example, every single database that we deploy, whether it be your business production app, your case management app, or whatever it is sitting on a managed relational database instance that is completely isolated and also fully replicated. What that means is that no other customers' databases are sitting on your instance, and also that instance has got a complete replica at another data center, ensuring that even if something really terrible happened, your data is still available, not just safe. The built-in systems will actually roll over automatically to another data center should a major outage occur, and you have to realize how rare a major outage like that would have to be in the first place. Same thing goes for your files. All of the data that you store on your systems is replicated across multiple data centers while it's encrypted. And that ensures that you are always available and always secure. It's also elastic, and what that means is that we can grow our infrastructure without any limitations. If your business suddenly exploded and you went from 100 employees to 10,000 employees, we can meet that demand within minutes, possibly even seconds. Because that's what Amazon lets us do. We have nearly infinite computing power available at our fingertips, and all we need to do is make a couple small adjustments on our side to ensure that you are unaffected by this giant push of new computing power that you might require. And I can't stress enough the importance of multi-tenant, because this is something that is rarely looked at, but it's extremely important. All of your information, whether it be your file system, your databases, or your user profiles, is isolated. It is unique to you and sitting in a logically isolated layer that no other customer has access to. It is impossible for one customer to access another customer's data simply because there are walls in between that prevent that from happening. This is an important point because a lot of vendors out there will actually say that your data is isolated when in fact they're only doing that by permission alone. In other words, you have security that is keeping one customer from seeing another, but that is not isolation. That is a shared tenant where information is free to flow. And if you have a virus infection, malware, ransomware that spreads into one customer, it will easily spread to the rest. In our environment, that's simply not possible. Everything has walls in between, and there is no way that information can flow from one customer to another. At this point, I want to thank you for your patience. I understand that geeking out isn't for everybody, but we are truly proud of the architecture that we've presented to our clients. And now let's go ahead and show you how all of it works. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the general interaction with the user is actually quite simple. In our case, you will visit a web portal that you have access to, and you're going to log in with your credentials. And you'll be presented with the application choices that you have available. In our case, we offer two modes for work. One is full desktop, and the other is individual application modes. I'm going to show you both. In full desktop, when you double-click, you're presented with an entire Windows desktop. It takes a second to log on for the first time. This is normal. Once you're logged in, the interactions are as fast as they can possibly be. These are really fast systems. And you're transmitting everything via the PC over IP protocol, which means there's no actual data going back and forth. It's only the screen images. Even so, all of it is encrypted. And you can interact with the applications the way you would if they were simply right on your desktop. You might want to notice that I'm also using a Mac OS to run the Windows applications in this case. This is a common deployment scenario for our clients. We have many clients that prefer the Apple operating systems or the Apple hardware and still are required to run certain Windows apps, and this is the means to do that. In this case, in the full desktop mode, we have access to the Start menu, the Control panel, and all the things that you would have if you were working with a regular Windows desktop. The second working mode is functionally the same, but it feels different. So instead of launching a full desktop, we're going to launch an individual application, such as Microsoft Word. When this application launches, it's going to feel like it's running right on my machine, which gives that feeling of coherence between the app that we're using and our regular desktop that we're actually on. We can launch multiple applications in the same fashion, each time just going back to the web UI and opening up the next app. And you should see, we can maximize them and go full screen, which you probably couldn't see because we have this webinar is restricted to a particular screen area, but you can probably imagine what just happened. And we can stretch and skew apps as much as we want. Again, we have all the same functionality. And this is true for our primary applications, such as TrialWorks in this case. And there's really not much to show you. The next part is really for you to experience it yourself. So we do offer pilot programs to help our clients explore the possibilities of using Amazon Web Services and CloudBento Small Business, and then actually incorporate that into their business. So this concludes our demo, and for contact information, obviously, you can visit cloudbento.com. You can also visit our partner details page on Amazon Web Services, which we highly encourage you to do that because it really shows our commitment to the AWS infrastructure. It's easy to become a registered partner, but a certified and accredited partner is not. And we've gone through a plethora of steps to ensure that we are compliant in every way and we provide value to our clients through these certifications and through all these accreditations. As mentioned earlier, we are also ISACA certified. We are working on our SOC 2 certifications, and we're also NIST 800-171 compliant, which is one of the requirements that is necessary for working with the federal government. All of those things are important to us, and we incorporate all of those practices with the services that we offer our clients. And we also challenge our competition to live up to the same standards, because at the end of the day, we believe that providing information technology that is secure, that is trusted, and that is always available is exactly what information technology should be, and that is the standard that every company should meet. So once again, thank you for your time, and we're going to move to questions. The remainder of the recording will not encompass any of the chat that we have after this. I see there's actually many questions that have come up during this session, so I'll go ahead and try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. Thank you.